Stuck in a toxic web with my mom, I said, how can she be okay treating me like this? Every boundary I set gets trampled and lovebombing only fuels my rage. I can't escape her. As I scream in frustration, will I ever break free from this emotional jail? Stuck in a non-physically abusive dynamic with my mother, I am unable to move out due to finances. It is likely not worth it to move out for a couple of years. The abuse is emotional, verbal, and sometimes financial. She has no qualms about threatening to not pay for my university tuition when she definitely has the money. Attempting to set any boundaries with her results in her trampling over them with her power and authority. Emotional guilt-tripping, name-calling, villainizing, and threats of cutting me off are common tactics. She loves holding university tuition over my head. Anything you have considered, I have also contemplated and tried. Unfortunately, it does not work. However, I am open to being surprised, so please share any advice you have. Thank you very much. I feel compelled to be the bigger person every time and simply nod my head like a doll of hers. I cannot say or do anything because it only angers her more. Her tantrums resemble those of a child. Her head is so far up her own beliefs that nothing, absolutely nothing, will get her to stop or admit any wrongdoing. She claims she does not think she has done anything to feel remorseful about. In this situation, one has to appease this child because she has the capability to upend your entire life by threatening to disown you. Which she has done, thank you, Mom. The conditioning to be the bigger person has become so extreme that even in my own mind, I cannot say no to her. I have trained myself to surrender my autonomy over my own thoughts when it comes to how I address my mother. It feels as if I am in a cult, where I cannot even criticize her in my own head. Part of this is due to her actual emotional manipulation, yay. But fortunately, I maintain my spirit intact. The main reason is that I understand if I begin speaking back to her in my mind, I will likely break down and start snapping at her in reality, which would lead to even more trouble. In my own replaying of memories from conflicts, I find myself forced to sit there and endure it, making myself shrink so that she will stop yelling at me. Can you imagine that? Being conditioned to the point where you have to be the bigger person even in your own mind. I unpacked this today after what occurred during my shower. I have written about what happened further down, you will find out soon, and I allowed myself to express everything in imagined scenarios. It provided a lot of relief and made me feel much better to reclaim my autonomy in my own head. Who could have guessed? However, I am also afraid that if I engage in this too much, I will lose my grip in future conflicts. I desperately want to scream at her because I know she is wrong. I am aware that she is wrong, and I do not deserve this, but I cannot because I would suffer the consequences of her emotions and irrational cruelty. A few times I have let my thoughts and feelings loose in screams, but she just sits there in silence, then love bombs me for the next few weeks. She is doing that right now after I confronted her about every vile and cruel thing she has done in a recent argument. Lately, she has begun saying, I love you at the end of every sentence she directs at me, and it feels as if an egg has been splattered on me each time. I must reply with I love you too, and it is profoundly sad. I do love my mother, but it makes me nauseous that she is using forced affection to avoid actually making any real changes or holding herself accountable. It infuriates me. To any love bombers out there, a significant thank you but no thank you. Get out of here and take a long look in the mirror. The worst feeling in the world is realizing you are being love-bombed, knowing you cannot call them out because they will gaslight you and turn it against you, portraying you as the cruel one who is rejecting their efforts. I also feel such anger because it feels as though I have lost a mother. I still love her deeply. I appreciate that she has done many good things for me and has sacrificed so much. However, in her own mind, she believes this is an acceptable way to treat her daughter. She thinks this is love. It is not, and I am so angry that she cannot see it, and I do not want this love. It is not love. I want a real mother who cares and who stops yelling. I earn excellent grades, my siblings and I do all the chores around the house, and we take turns cooking with her. She goes away on trips for up to 3 months at a time, during which I take over her household responsibilities, organizing dinners, cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, and ensuring my siblings are okay. I was threatened with disownment and was told that my university tuition would not be paid because I reached out to my guidance counselor. She became so concerned that she called my deputy principal to speak with her. My mother perceived it as a betrayal and an unforgivable challenge to her authority. I had to apologize and promise to follow her every command and trust her completely, being the perfect, pleasant, obedient child. Am I in a personality cult? Among other things, I was told how I was destroying her and our relationship, yet she still loves me unconditionally. This makes me feel so sick. I detest this more than anything. This is not unconditional love. There is so much more. I could write novels. She absolutely will not change. It is an endless cycle with her. Her child is visibly suffering right in front of her and she still refuses to change. I cannot continue doing the emotional work of being her therapist and unpacking her generational trauma to even acknowledge my pain. That is absurd. I am furious that it has come to this, and I am so angry that I have to act as her therapist just to get her to see my feelings. I just want her to recognize my pain and feel remorse. I want her to work on herself and stop inflicting harm, stop evading the issue with love bombs. As a result, I have to compartmentalize so much of my anger, placing it all in little boxes that require time to process. It is exhausting, and it is never enough because there are always more boxes. This woman is perpetually in my life, creating more problems and more boxes. I cannot escape her, there are too many complicating factors. I will effectively have to wait it out while I build my life for a few years underneath her. I cannot involve authorities. The one time I went to my guidance counselor, it only made matters worse. Bottle after bottle, I cap screams and more screams inside myself. Sometimes I break and I feel so incredibly itchy with rage that the only thing I can do is finally scream. Just a primal ahhhhhhhhh into the air. It has happened a handful of times. I have done this 4 separate times on the street when I was alone. I am aware that people can hear me from a distance and I apologize if it frightens them, but I hope those bursts do not cause them any trouble. I am sorry, strangers. I attempted to do this in the car. I locked myself in there and screamed, but it caused ringing in my ears, which likely indicates that I was damaging my eardrums, so I had to stop. The issue arose today while I was in the shower, and it terrified my siblings who overheard. I could feel myself buzzing with so much anger while washing my hair that I feared I would start ripping it out if I did not scream. I wonder if there is any advice on how I can redirect this anger. I believe I am reasonably skilled at processing it because I do take time to feel it and examine every aspect of it in my mind, like a terrible gummy, when I am no longer in survival mode. I know the sources of each instance. Unfortunately, there is nothing I can do to eliminate the source. I can only navigate around my mother, avoiding her and getting out of the house as much as possible, but she is my mother. I cannot rid myself of her completely. Yet my anger resurges from the injustice of her actions and how the abuse will inevitably happen again, but I must find a way to accept it. I am furious. How can she feel okay treating me this way? How dare she love bomb me? The love bombing only angers me more, it is disgusting. I must come to terms with numerous injustices, which fuels my anger because she will never feel remorse for the blatant pain she has caused me, and she will go to her grave believing she was correct each time. I do make an effort to get out of the house as much as possible, focusing on my studies and building my life. I know this is an extremely angry post, but I also try to concentrate on all the good in my life, savoring every moment of happiness I find with friends, nature, my siblings, and quiet comforts. Ultimately, I realize I am still very privileged and lead a wonderful life of comfort. I have countless things to be grateful for, and I am, but my mother is exceedingly persistent, and her constant presence creates ripples within me. I am angry about having to endure her hypocrisy, but I look forward to the future and the day I will finally escape. I discuss many things with my friends, and I have a good support system to talk through events which allows me to process them. However, talking to my friends does not change anything. I can document the abuse, but it does not prevent my mother from yelling and making threats again. I dislike sports and they are not enough. I have tried jogging, but it only made me feel more frustrated. Do any of you have advice on how to redirect this anger? Thank you very much for reading. God bless you, kind stranger. Story 2. Hannah, my half-sister, faked terminal illness and forged medical documents, even claiming I died in a car crash. I just need help, she begged while living out of her car after conning friends out of $25,000. How far will she go to seek attention? This is a story that I need to express. It involves my small family and mainly focuses on my sister, who I will refer to as Hannah. Thank you for taking the time to read this in advance. I know it is lengthy. Let us begin by going back to the first week of September 2021. I'm a mostly responsible adult, living and working 1.5 hours away from my family and hometown. 3 days before my 30th birthday, my mother, aged 50, calls to inform me of some significant news. The unusual lump on her neck, discovered a few weeks earlier, has been confirmed as cancerous, and her abdomen is filled with tumors. My mother proceeds to start chemotherapy treatment for stage 3 non-Hodgkin's Burkitt lymphoma. Hannah, aged 25, resides closer to our childhood home with her roommate Mary and Mary's 8-year-old son. It is a short drive for Hannah to visit our mother, so we keep in touch through text messages and phone calls, ensuring everyone feels supported over the following months. Eventually, the time comes when our mother begins to feel ill from the treatment and starts losing her hair. Hannah arrives at the hospital within a few days, proudly sporting a freshly shaved head in solidarity. Fast forward 1 year to September 2022, when our mother, grandmother Hannah, and I are gathered for my 31st birthday lunch. We are incredibly thankful that our mother is still with us. Hannah stands up at the table and announces that she has news for us all. She is pregnant and expecting twins. We are all surprised and excited for Hannah and our mother, especially because we want our mother to be present for her first grandchildren. Hannah and I continue to stay in touch, although she has always been somewhat elusive on social media, keeping her profile and posts hidden from the family. As a result, we chat casually on the phone or through text messages. This is something my mother has questioned in the past but never made an issue or complaint about. By December of that year, Hannah informs me on Christmas Day that she has experienced medical complications and is no longer pregnant. She hadn't mentioned any of this earlier, so I was taken aback and felt sorrow for her, wondering why she hadn't confided in me. I questioned whether I was someone she felt she could trust, considering how many friends she has, and I assumed she likely sought support from them instead. Moving forward 1 year to September 2023, I am about to turn 32 and am catching up with my mother, grandmother, and Hannah once again for my birthday lunch. We are enjoying food at our grandmother's house when Hannah begins to cry. As she wipes away her tears amidst our hugs, Hannah confides that the medical complications from the previous year have returned, and she is now battling breast cancer. She apologizes for sharing this on my birthday and spends the remainder of the afternoon recounting funny family stories with us and enjoying some sunshine. We all want her to feel supported. Hannah updates us on her treatment plan and shows us medical scans and pictures of her arms connected to hospital equipment. Hannah is my half-sibling, and she has several other brothers and sisters from her father's side, some of whom she met throughout the year and shared details about her cancer journey. They even hired a photographer and stylist makeup artist to dress up and take beautiful pictures at their farm, celebrating Hannah's life and creating wonderful memories together. In November of that same year, I receive a panicked call from Hannah late one Friday evening. She asks for help and needs me to pick her up. She is in the hospital about 45 minutes away from me. Naturally, I pack my bag, jump in the car, and go to get her. Upon my arrival at the hospital, I notice that Hannah is acting a little strangely and giddy. A staff member directs me to the mental health unit so that I can review her mental health care plan and facilitate her discharge. At this point, I am very confused, but I pay attention to the forms and place her in the car. Hannah advises me not to drive her to Mary's house because she left her car at work. She wants to retrieve it and drive herself home. When we arrive at her car, it is well past midnight, and Hannah is stumbling out onto the road. I do not believe it is wise for her to drive, so I offer to take her home after she gathers her personal items from her car. She tells me, laughing, that she can see people watching her through the darkness, and before I can intervene, Hannah jumps into her car and speeds off towards home. A few weeks later, after numerous calls to Hannah's phone that go unanswered, it is Christmas Eve, and I am preparing the last presents for a gathering with the family. Suddenly, I receive a phone call from Hannah. She is in a mental health institution about an hour's drive from me, pleading for me to come and get her so she can spend Christmas Day with our family. I arrange for her discharge on December 25th and go to pick her up around 7 a.m. I bring spare clothing, toiletries, and breakfast. During the drive to our family, which has now become a 2.5-hour journey, Hannah shares that she hasn't been managing her breast cancer treatments and is experiencing difficulties at home and work. I feel immense sympathy for her and assure her that I want to help. Hannah suggests that the best solution is for her to move into my rental house with me and my partner because Mary is bullying her and demanding more rent money. Gently, I express that this is a matter we need to discuss with my partner to ensure that we are all in agreement. Hannah agrees. On Christmas Day, surrounded by our close-knit family and extended cousins, Mother pulls me aside and indicates she has something to discuss with me regarding Hannah. She appears concerned and reveals a series of messages that Mary has sent her. Hannah has not been paying her share of rent and utilities, and Mary had received at least 3 texts from her son's school over the past few weeks notifying her that he had been collected early by Hannah. Mary often requested Hannah to pick up her son in the afternoons but never to pull him out of school, which is alarming. Within the message history were screenshots from Hannah's social media profiles in which she discusses her lymphoma cancer journey. Wait a moment, Hannah told us she has breast cancer. Our mother has lymphoma. There were images of forged and misspelled medical documents concerning Hannah's diagnosis, stating a prognosis of 4 months to live, along with photos of her in a hospital chair, bald, discussing her treatment. These photos were taken when Hannah shaved her head. We believed it was to support our mother. It just kept getting worse. We looked at photos of Hannah's Facebook posts about having experienced multiple failed pregnancies over several years, losing her husband to illness, feeling mistreated and estranged from her mother, and bewilderingly that I was dead. She posted that I had died in a car accident, accompanied by pictures of a random car crash, license plates blurred out, and my face. At this point, my heart felt as though it was both racing and sinking. Mother ended up speaking on the phone with Mary and discovered that Hannah had informed her friends and everyone at her workplace that she only had months to live. As a result, They banded together and raised over $25,000 for Hannah to secure a reliable car and live comfortably for the time she had left. However, Hannah was still driving an old four-wheel drive, the same vehicle I had dropped her off at 1 month prior. Fast forward to mid-2023. After learning that Hannah had been living out of her car for several months and was taking an excessive amount of prescription pills and illicit drugs at the time she was admitted to the mental health care facility, Hannah's secrets did not remain hidden for long. Someone at the school where she worked discovered her lies, and Hannah was taken to court, charged with fraud. It is now 2025. She is entirely broke and is still repaying the money she overspent, never disclosing how it was used. Hannah now resides with our grandmother, who is not prone to overlooking matters. To this day, Hannah has not uttered a word about why she told all these lies, and unfortunately, the falsehoods continue. While attending a funeral for a close family friend of ours, I noticed Hannah texting someone, claiming she was being followed by a man intent on harming her for an unknown reason. This is not the case, as discussed with Hannah and grandmother afterwards. Hannah has also informed my partner and me that she is pregnant again, only to lose the baby early on and neglect to inform us unless I reach out to check on her. Fortunately, our mother is still with us and is seeking mental health support to navigate her post-treatment life as it adjusts to a new normal. Hannah is also consulting with a psychologist, but has become quite volatile and angry whenever speaking with our mother. She will not consider assisting our mother without rolling her eyes and extending her hand, expecting money. These thoughts weigh heavily on my mind. How can I support my sister through something detrimental that she has done and continues to do to herself? What is the cause of the rift between her and our mother? Is it because Hannah fears something negative might happen to our mother, prompting her to emotionally detach? Should I support someone who told everyone I had died? Why do people fabricate such lies? What is to be gained other than attention? And is the desire for more attention a negative trait to possess? Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts and release them from my mind. Story 3. After years of feeling like a ghost in my own marriage, I'm done. My wife admits she wants me, but I'm always the one to initiate intimacy. Now all I hear is I feel alone while I do the work of two. I just give up, I tell her as our son sleeps through the chaos. Can we save this family? Note, this is a throwaway account. I apologize for my language, which is not very good, and I am unsure where to start or how to articulate everything, but I will try. It is somewhat of a help me, I am lost situation, I suppose. I do not know how to begin, so I will explain things chronologically. One problem is that she acts harshly toward me for no reason, and the other issue is related to sex. Initially, we were in a relationship for 3 years. The first half was long distance. Then we got married, and it has been 4 years now. We have a son who is 1 year old. During the first year, we were both shy about sex. There were lots of kissing and hugging, but nothing more. After 1 year, we started having sex. I had a much higher libido than she did. At first, I wanted more sex, but I never pressured her into it. However, as time passed, I kind of settled for less. After we married, our intimacy increased to about 2 or 3 times a week, but I was always the one to initiate intimacy. I discussed this with her, and she said she wanted me as well. She just felt shy about expressing it and initiating intimacy. I asked if I was pushing her too much or if I was forcing her into it, and she said no. I offered to give her more space if that was what she wanted. The issue during that time was that I guess she just did not have much libido. I do not fully understand this, but I can respect it. 99% of the time she said yes to sex, but I felt like I was the only one initiating, and she never took the first step. I began to feel undesired and unwanted, and that feeling has grown over time. Regarding having another baby, she always wanted one. I agreed, and eventually we started trying without protection. She is a midwife, so she knows a lot about the best days to get pregnant, and when those days arrived, she acted somewhat seductive. I felt like a stud animal, but I did not resist it. After 3 months, we became pregnant. The pregnancy months were very challenging for her with numerous sleep issues. Everything seemed to smell and work was very tough for her. However, I was there for her every step of the way. I did not want her to handle household chores. Normally, we divide them 50-50. I had a lot of work to do as a lawyer, and my hours were all over the place. Nevertheless, I took on about 80% of the household responsibilities, and she insisted on doing the rest because she found it enjoyable, particularly cooking. I do not regret doing so much for her and would gladly do it again if necessary. My point is that I dedicated my entire time and effort to this marriage. I always listened to her and made plans to see her happy. Before the baby was born, we went out often. She enjoys spending time outside, while I am more of a homebody, but I adapted for her happiness. I do not regret that either. After the baby was born, it was an absolute nightmare, literal hell. Parents know that the first few months can be incredibly hard, but ours was even more challenging. The baby would not sleep. He would only sleep for 30 minutes at a time, followed by 4 hours of crying. We consulted doctors, but they told us the baby was healthy. Some babies behave this way, but it will improve. We lived near my mother while her mother lived far away, and both mothers offered to help by coming over and taking care of the baby so that she could get some rest. She became overprotective of our son and refused assistance from our mothers, leading to fights with them. I felt it was due to her hormones going haywire after giving birth. Thus, I was the only one to stay with them, and I did all that I could to help. I provided pre-expressed breast milk from the fridge, cooked it, and fed it to the baby. I changed most of the diapers, changed his clothes, and took the baby for car rides in the middle of the night so she could rest. The baby would sleep in the car, but if we stayed at home, he would wake up crying. I would drive for 2 to 3 hours every night just to give her some respite. I was the one working to earn money while she took 2 years off work. She continually complained about my long work hours, saying she felt alone. However, I explained to her that I am the only one who can work and earn money, and we need a lot of funds since the baby requires things. She did not have any income for 2 years, so I had to work extra hard. I noted that she did not want help from her mothers, so I felt obligated to be the one offering assistance. I worked much more and was there for her emotionally as well. She always wanted me to be at home more. We always managed baby tasks and household chores together, but we did not take even an hour's break each day, not even to watch a movie on Netflix once a week. We became somewhat disconnected over time. I tried my best and discussed it with her, explaining that the baby was doing better now and sleeping about 3 hours straight. I suggested she could take that time to relax or have us time together like cuddling or watching something or playing a game. However, she ignored my suggestions. We did not have sex for the first 3 months because there is a healing period after birth. I did not even think about it. When we eventually began having sex again, we took it slow at first to avoid any pain. Things seemed to progress, but the old issues remained. I was still the only one trying to initiate intimacy. I even experimented by not pushing for sex and waiting to see what would happen. We went for 2 months without sex. She seemed to have zero sexual reflex. There were no kisses, hugs, teasing, or seductive texts, nothing. However, when I initiated, she never said no, but I felt undesired and unwanted this way. I did not see desire in her eyes anymore, and this made me reluctant to initiate further. We have been together for 7 years now, and I could count on one hand how many times I have seen that look of desire in her eyes or when she has initiated. Recently, I have just given up on it. I thought that maybe in time it would be fixed, so I have been focusing on being a father and provider for our home. She always expresses discontent. When I go to work, she complains that I work too much and that she feels alone. When I reduce my work hours to spend more time with her, she says we do not have money left for necessary expenses. We try to go out and have fun once a week, but there is always an excuse: traffic, the wind could make the baby sick, or the baby cries too much. I care deeply for our son and do so much for him, but she constantly shares memes and reels that depict fathers as not contributing, while mothers do all the work concerning the baby, cooking, cleaning, and caring. I feel I am entirely the opposite of those fathers, but she always says things like, "Look, mothers do so much and fathers do not, so you should understand my unhappiness." I did not understand this at all. We have talked extensively about these topics. I have literally begged her to share what she wants. I have asked her to provide solutions, but she only complains. There is one more thing I can never comprehend. The baby goes to sleep at 9 p.m. and she stays awake, looking at her phone until 1 a.m. and then struggles to fall asleep. The baby sometimes wakes up between 3 and 4 a.m. and I have to work the next day. When I return home, she tells me she did not sleep and that her day is ruined because she is tired. I offer to put the baby to sleep that night so she can relax. I also suggest she sleep in another room to rest, but she refuses, saying she wants to stay up because when the baby sleeps, she feels free at last. I warned her that she would surely feel tired the next day, and she does. After this happened once, I offered again, asking her to please sleep a little, but she again declined. Later, she says she feels exhausted because she has not been sleeping. I understand she wants to feel relaxed and stays up a little, but she chose this. I always provide options, but she generally ignores me when I talk and does not respond with a no. She simply gives me silence. In the beginning, I felt angry and fought about it, like, come on, I am trying for you, but after a few times, I just gave up on pushing the issue. Deep down, I still care about her, but no matter how many options I offer or suggestions I make, I receive silence in return. I am tired of seeking solutions that clearly she could also find. She feels lonely. I offered to take care of the baby when I got home around 6 p.m. so that she could go out with her friends. However, she does not want to be away for long. I tell her that she can go to nearby cafes and talk with friends just to have a break from the baby. She says she will try, but never ends up asking her friends or making plans. I may not have written down everything, but in every situation, I am the only one trying to find solutions. She never attempts to come up with any suggestions for me. I am open to everything. So here we are now. I feel so exhausted from trying to make her happy. I have just given up. I have stopped seeking solutions. I have accepted that she is unhappy. Whenever she says something like I am wrong about something, I give up on discussing or arguing about it. I reply with an okay. I feel lost, unwanted, and undesired, and I have given up on trying to initiate. I have given up completely. I do not want to lose this family. If I saw that she was making an effort, I would gladly wait for years to make everything right. I suggested family therapy, or if she preferred to go alone, that would be fine. She said no to both. I know my writing might seem complicated, but I do not know how to act or feel anymore. Can anyone provide any advice? What can I do to help her understand how I feel? Story 4. In a year and a half of living together, my girlfriend says, "You're too selfish to change," while I feel endlessly misunderstood. Balancing college and work, I'm lost when she screams, "Leave me if you can't be better." Can we survive this tension? Hello. I am a male and I have been in a relationship with my girlfriend for 3.5 years. I am from Europe, while she is from Asia. We spent 2 years in a long-distance relationship before she moved in to live with me and to leave her toxic family behind in Asia. Since she arrived here, it has been 1.5 years. Unfortunately, things are not going well. We are both enrolled in a challenging college and working part-time to manage rent and tuition. Additionally, we spend hours together to maintain our relationship while handling household responsibilities such as cooking, more than typical for our age, with little to no support from our families. I have personal issues stemming from my own background. My mother left me to join a cult when I was 5 years old, while my father provided for my basic needs such as food and clothing but little else. When I turned 10, he frequently left for extended periods. As a result, I had little contact with other children during my early years and was often a loner. At the age of 12, my father began dating what I consider to be the worst woman possible. I was initially happy for him to find companionship after so many years, but she turned out to be the most toxic person in my life. Any display of emotion at home led to mockery and accusations of weakness. Eventually, I stopped communicating with both her and my father, enduring that situation for 7 years. This experience made me avoidant and emotionally unavailable, which is now creating challenges in my relationship. My girlfriend has a similar history. Her entire family was involved in a cult for many years. We found it quite surprising when we met, as it seemed like a coincidence. Her parents were also engaged in inappropriate activities, resulting in her own set of problems and traumas. However, I have always perceived her as handling her issues much better than I do. When both of us are in a good place and nothing negative is happening, everything is wonderful. We love each other deeply and complement each other perfectly in those moments. During the first 2 weeks after she has her period, things are always fantastic. However, after that, any small action on my part that offends her leads to her becoming very sensitive and reactive, making her feel like I do not care about her at all. Despite my efforts, she believes I am not doing enough, even though I engage in multiple daily actions that she has requested and for which we have agreed upon, while she does not reciprocate similarly for me. Sometimes what seems like a minor issue escalates significantly. For example, yesterday after returning from the gym with her, I took a quick shower for a couple of minutes. She abruptly paused her urgent work to inform me that she would join me. I was delighted. We enjoyed each other's company for a while, but then she began calling me derogatory names such as bitch and using a racial slur despite my being Caucasian. I usually do not mind such language, but occasionally I can become tired and express my dislike for it. She responds by saying that I fail to understand it is intended as a joke. Although I get that, there are times when I simply do not want to hear such remarks. She insists that I need to adapt and not always do as I please. This has become a common issue, and I often hear that I am not demanding enough, that I do not ask for anything, but when I do, I am labeled selfish, unable to adjust or emotionally connect. This leads me to feel that any requests I make in this relationship will go unanswered while my girlfriend's needs always come first, which is a painful feeling. She disapproved when I expressed this need and moved closer to me, leaving me with insufficient space to apply shampoo. I asked her if she could step back slightly and she responded, "No, I do not want to." I began to feel genuinely annoyed. Why must everything revolve around her preferences? I pushed her away, which I realized was wrong. I acknowledged my mistake and recognized that I should not have reacted in that manner. Within 5 seconds, what had been a joyful day quickly shifted as she began shouting at me, questioning my problem, why I cannot comprehend her intentions, and accusing me of not caring for her. She threatened to leave me, expressing disappointment that I was not the gentle, caring, and understanding partner she thought I was when she is calm and I merely appear numb and selfish. Similar incidents have occurred frequently over the last year, although the reasons behind her sorrow or anger have varied, like when she asked me for something I did not follow through on. Initially, I would cry, feeling distressed about my contributions to her feelings. She would become upset with me for not focusing on her emotions when I should be apologizing. Over time, I have become more emotionally numb. I no longer cry, I simply experience grief. I become fearful and numb to her outbursts. Recently, she accused me of failing to apologize after causing problems. I conceded this was a valid point and began offering apologies. Initially, that seemed to work, but then she claimed my apologies were insincere. I attempted to improve in this regard, but now she asserts that my apologies mean nothing because I am not genuinely remorseful. I am only attempting to alleviate my own guilt. I genuinely do not know how to respond when she is upset or angry. Whatever I say leads to accusations that it is wrong, that I am selfish and inadequate, and that I need to learn about her because I cannot understand myself. She became upset over my emotional numbness and eventually ceased speaking to me. However, when I attempt to communicate with her, she rejects my efforts. I am at a loss for what to do. I am unclear about her expectations. When I inquire about her desires, she tells me I am not doing what is required. Yet it becomes apparent that the criteria are always shifting. I have ceased requesting changes from her, as she maintains that she cannot transform herself for my sake. I have also given up my favorite hobbies when she is home because she often insists that I should be working on my personal development rather than wasting time, despite having worked all day, or that this semester's coursework is relatively easy. Meanwhile, she watches Netflix for 3 hours a day, which I have never objected to. I recognize my mistakes, yet I am unsure how to rectify them. I feel depleted and drained. She describes my faults as a desire for quick solutions to alleviate my grief rather than a genuine effort to become a better individual. I do not concur with this perception, yet she insists that my perspective is irrelevant if I am unable to change. Even the incident in the shower was not isolated. I sense that it is wrong to feel as if I am continually asking for something while my girlfriend appears indifferent. This situation greatly increases the likelihood of an argument. I believe it is not unreasonable to occasionally request something from your partner when feelings necessitate such. I would assert that I only need to express that I am not in the mood for something once a week, yet for some reason this remains unacceptable to her and feels so unfair to me. Another point she raises is that I am emotionally unavailable. She mentioned this today, prompting me to research its meaning, which seems quite challenging to amend. I lack motivation in our relationship. I have invested 100 hours in self-development, but she does not recognize the progress I have made, invalidating my efforts by asserting that I will always remain the same and that she must move on and leave me. I understand that she conveys this due to her repeated frustrations and desires for change, but I am unsure how to proceed. Whenever I ask her to clarify what she needs, she instructs me to address it next time, only to later claim that my response is insufficient. I genuinely want to improve but feel lost on how to do so effectively. I have also made mistakes by not spending enough time with her. My workload is heavier, and my exhaustion at the end of most days leaves little energy to converse or be intimate at midnight. She interprets this as a problem on my part, saying I should not be tired and that I do not dedicate sufficient time to her. I yearn for intimacy, yet I am consistently met with rejection. During the day, when I do spend time with her, it often feels like she is preoccupied with browsing Instagram or attending to the cats while ignoring me completely. I have communicated my discontent with this dynamic and requested a change, to which she has responded that she is listening. Today, she informed me that she intends to break up with me as soon as she secures a full-time job if I do not become a better person, citing my emotional unavailability and the necessity for improvement in managing her emotional states. She consistently has expectations, but I remain uncertain about what they are. To be candid, I have no idea what she truly wants. She asserts that she frequently communicates her wants. I attempt to comply with her requests. However, it always seems to escalate to accusations of dishonesty or that I am failing to meet expectations, even when I believe I am making progress. I thought that my apologies would suffice, but she continuously expresses indifference to them. I hope I have covered all pertinent details and relevant information. Please let me know if you have any suggestions on improving our situation. I am willing to provide additional information if necessary. Thank you for taking the time to read this and for your assistance. Story 5. My toxic dance with mom. You're robbing your graduation from me, she yelled. After years of her backing my messy brother over me, I finally heard her apologize. Maybe there's hope for us yet, but can I truly rebuild when I can't even say I love you anymore? This is a long post, so if you are not interested in reading, you can simply move on to the next entry. My relationship with my mother, 54 years old, female, and I, 25 years old, female, is essentially as toxic as the title suggests. We have had a challenging relationship since my parents got divorced. To summarize, my father cheated on my mother when I was 16 years old, and they divorced after being together for 30 years. My relationship with my father is also strained. We have slowly begun to mend that relationship, and although we are not close friends, it has certainly improved over the past year. However, this is about my mother and me. Both of my parents are Hispanic, and I believe this is relevant because if you have a Hispanic mother, you know the words I am sorry or I apologize do not exist in her vocabulary. I have accepted this as a cultural issue, but some things have changed recently. After my parents divorced, my mother never met anyone else and remains single to this day. Although she has dated a few men, none of those relationships have been long-term, partly because I feel my mother can be hard to please. She is extremely particular, likes things done her way, has obsessive-compulsive disorder, constantly cleans the house, and dislikes seeing any messes. This has led to several major arguments between us. I have a brother, 24 years old male, who is notoriously messy. He dislikes cleaning and has even stated that he believes it is a woman's responsibility. I attribute this to my mother for effectively teaching him this by doing everything for him. The problem I face is that we share a bathroom, and my mother absolutely despises when it is dirty, especially since it also serves as a guest bathroom. The guest bathroom has been the source of many of our disputes, which often escalate beyond mere cleanliness into personal insults, where she accuses me of being a spoiled brat and a filthy pig because I refuse to clean up after my brother. At one point, we went almost an entire month without cleaning the bathroom. Most of my belongings had been removed. Much of the mess is my brother's responsibility. I firmly believe that just because I am a woman and share a bathroom with him, it does not mean I am obligated to clean up after him. I have argued with both of them for nearly 2 years regarding this, insisting that this should be a shared responsibility. About a year ago, we reached an agreement that cleaning the bathroom would be a shared task. However, in that year, my brother has only cleaned the bathroom twice. My mother cleans it during his weekends while I do so on mine. I suspect some of you might sense the underlying issues in our family dynamic. Although I do not think my mother has favorites, it certainly appears that way from an outsider's perspective. Her tendency to take care of him extends beyond the bathroom. She has a friend who comes over every other week to help clean his bedroom and do his laundry. In contrast, no one does anything for me. Even when she prepares dinner for all of us, she ensures to set aside portions for him to eat for lunch, while I have never had lunch served to me. If you are Hispanic, you understand that this reflects a typical relationship of a Hispanic mother with her son. The issue I have with my mother is not that she does everything for him, but rather how she continually points out my shortcomings and criticizes me for not doing enough. Despite being the only one of us who has attended graduate school, the only one with a stable career, and the only one who manages all my financial responsibilities, he does not. He owes her a significant amount of money. Before I continue, many people have suggested, why don't you just move out? My response is that it is not as easy as it seems. Everything is currently very expensive. I recently quit teaching after 6 years because I could not afford to buy a house even though I had money saved and excellent credit. The only loans I qualified for were for $230,000, and since I live in Florida, nothing, not even a condominium, is available for that price anymore. I have been trying to move out for the past 3 years, but have never earned enough to live independently. I also refuse to move out and share a living space with strangers or roommates after living with my family my entire life and dealing with these issues. My worst fear is to live with a messy or unstable roommate. I would rather manage these difficulties with my family than with a stranger. I genuinely desire to live independently when the opportunity arises, and I am currently working towards that now that I have a higher income. However, I am fully aware that our relationship would likely be considerably better if I moved out. Now that you have some background, I can say that we have attempted therapy and discussed our problems as a family. My brother has even started to withdraw from our arguments, refusing to take sides when tensions rise. Previously, he would support my mother. Significant changes have occurred in our dynamics. Despite my mother still doing so much for my brother, I have accepted this and we have not argued as often. I no longer hear her criticizing or belittling my actions. I recognize that our last argument was relatively healthy compared to many others we have had. The most recent argument occurred when I was graduating with my master's degree in December and invited my father to the ceremony to include him in this special moment. We held a gathering at my home with family and friends the day before, which my father did not attend. My mother claimed that I was robbing her of the graduation day. After expressing my feelings about her remark and explaining that both of them would have their opportunities to celebrate with me, I felt it was unfair for her to place me in that position. For the first time, she apologized and actually said, "I am sorry." Since that moment, a great deal has changed. We have argued less frequently, and she has significantly eased up on her expectations, even occasionally helping me with tasks like folding my laundry or preparing my favorite lunch. I also attribute some of this change to my grandfather's passing. Ultimately, I wish to establish a healthy relationship with my mother. When I hear others speak about their relationships with their mothers and express love for them, I feel a profound sense of sadness. There is nothing I desire more in this life than to have a positive relationship with both of my parents. I recognize that our parents are merely people navigating life for the first time, and I often extend them grace. Yet I have reached a point where I do not even think to tell my mother that I love her anymore. Those words have not flowed from my mouth naturally for years. You are only hearing one perspective, a small part of what our relationship entails. Both of my parents are good people. They love me and my brother deeply and have always been incredibly supportive of our aspirations in life. However, I feel I have not had a strong example of how to handle emotions or express them, and I am uncertain where to begin. I would greatly appreciate any guidance on how to forgive, move forward, and rebuild that emotional connection with my mother when I currently lack the motivation to do so.